Hello everyone, Justin with 511 Designs. Today I'm going to show you a new grill guard for the 01 series and go through the process for installing
with installation instructions. See here. This particular guard is a three-piece design. For the 01 series previously, they were just a one-piece design. And since then, we've incorporated a skid plate as well as a storage area utilizing that skid plate. It results in a lot more coverage, both down underneath and just toward the lower portion of the grill guard. Well, all the hardware is included. You will have to drill 4 holes for this grill guard. And as I mentioned, it's a three-piece design. Here's the upper piece, 11 gauge steel. Here's the lower piece, which is going to provide a lot more coverage here, also 11 gauge steel. This piece will be stationary. This upper portion will rotate with the guard, the factory guard that is. And this is the skid plate that I was referring to. So you can store a chain here, whatever you'd like. And it also protects from limbs or whatnot coming up from the bottom up into the grill. This upper and lower is they're both 11 gauge. This is 7 gauge steel, so 50% thicker than the so the first step in this process is going to be assembling the lower portion and the skid plate with the provided hardware. So I've assembled these two pieces. I have not tightened it up. I wanted to leave it a little bit loose until we actually get it on the machine, and then we can tighten that up later. But now we've got that assembled, I'm going to move on to the tractor. So we're going to start by removing these lower 2 bolts that secure the brush guard to the frame. The skid plate will utilize these 2 bolts to secure the back portion of it. Next, we're going to remove the nuts and washers at the pivot point on each side. And we're going to remove each of these washers. Note here that the spring washers in the inside, they face each other, the crown side, I guess you could say, or the convex sides. We are going to leave 1 washer on each side. Pull the pivot bolts out or place them so they're flush with the washer. Then we'll take this assembly and put it in between these washers. Hopefully the washers stay put, unlike they did for me here. Then slide the large pivot bolts in. Now you can go ahead and replace the spring washers and the other large washer on each side. Followed by one of the nuts on each side. It's not necessary at this time to tighten these down. Just want to hold everything in place. Now, I meant to mention that while it's not necessary to remove the loader, it makes it a heck of a lot easier, mainly to get these bolts in. So I spent a couple minutes, took the loader off, and it just makes the job a whole lot easier. This is a 22mm socket. And while holding up on the skid plate, snug these down. And then I recommend torquing these to 100 foot-pounds. So now's a good time to tighten up these pivot bolts. There's no real specification on this. It's all user preference for how much resistance is felt when you rotate the guard. One thing I like to use are these rubber tipped spring clamps. These help out tremendously while holding the guard in place while you're installing it. On this upper piece, you're going to want to tuck it underneath here. And then what you want to do here is make sure it's even on each side. Right now I'm kind of referencing off this radius here on the top flange of the guard. Then I'll put a clamp on each side to hold it up there. Then the main thing you want to look at is you want about 3/16 of an inch here of clearance. If you have it too tight, then when you go to rotate this guard, it'll end up hitting here. So keep about 3/16 here, and then you can pull the pin. And while you rotate it, make sure everything clears. I'm clearing by about 1/4 inch there. And then what I do is I go through and mark the top 2 holes with a Sharpie. I'll remove the upper part of the guard and then drill the holes first with an 1/8 inch bit approximately, and then a 3/8 bit. And then I'll put these bolts in just loosely and then rotate this in and out slightly. And I like to keep a little gap here between the brush guard or the grill guard insert and this crossbar. And then I'll mark and drill these lower holes and come back and reinstall all the bolts and tighten them up. I'm not going to do that, go through that on this. I already have these drilled for this guard. I want to show underneath here, as you can see where these 2 guards meet. There's an additional flange back here that bends upward to cover that small gap, that 3/16 of an inch I was referring to. But just a little extra protection and rigidity. I'm going to go back and put on these second nuts on each side to keep that first one from backing out. Just hold the first nut and tighten up the locking nut against the first one. Finally, I'm going to go in and just tighten up these bolts that we did at the beginning, assembling the skid plate and the lower guard. Just a note, you don't want to tighten up any of these stainless fasteners too tight. If you tighten them up too tight, they tend to kind of get galled a little bit, and then it's very difficult to take them apart if you ever need to. So, well, here's the finished product.
But as you can see, a lot of coverage down here in this area. This is fully supported, this lower portion, by the factory guards, so very stout. One item that we improved on this is the headlight openings. We had some requests for a little larger opening, so that's been opened right up. All based on customer feedback. Very happy with this design. Let us know what you think. Need any accessories? We stock most everything we have for immediate shipment. 511designs.com, or give us a call, 734-719-0311. Thank you.